Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies. Open.
They're hailing us, sir.
On screen.
Hello and welcome to Hailing Frequencies Open, where we're trekking through the past and future of Star Trek. We're specifically doing that very thing in this episode, which I'm very excited about. As always, I'm your host, Mike Jones, and joining me via the magic of the internet is our co-host, Damien. Say hi, Damien.
Hi, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, so we thought there's so much Trek right now. We are living in a golden, not a golden age. What's the are we past the golden age? Are we in a
platinum age?
A platinum age?
A new golden age?
Yes. So much so that there's rumors and possible spinoff series and lots of things floating around. So we thought we would talk about the future of Star Trek and what may or may not be coming down the line. And then take a minute also to look at the past at, paths not taken. There have been a lot of discussed spinoffs and projects that never happened. So I thought that might be kind of fun.
But anything could happen. What did they say that the Cage was the 50-year pilot, right? That they made the series that never got made 50 years later. So some of these may yet resurface.
The longest pilot to series pickup in history.
Thank you for saying that correctly. Yes, that's what I meant. Crazy. That's what I meant.
Well, first let's talk about what has already actually been announced. So this was a bit of a bait and switch. Well, not even a bit. This was a full bait and switch because they talked about a Wrath of Khan show written by Nicholas Meyer about Khan's time on Ceti Alpha 5, not Ceti Alpha 6. This is Ceti Alpha 5. And then at the was it Vegas or was it in the Star Trek Day? There he is saying, "Hey, remember we talked about that one day we'll do this Khan series? The day has come, and it's a podcast."
Yeah, I couldn't help but put myself in his shoes because he wrote this thing years ago, right? I remember him saying it's written, it's ready to go, and there he is on stage, and they're hyping it, and he's like, "And it's a podcast." I don't know. Great. I will listen to it. I'm sure it'll be great.
Absolutely. Obviously, we like podcasts, but it's. I've never done a lot of audio drama. There's a long history of Doctor Who audio dramas, and then there's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as an audio drama. But I never got into those. So I feel like that's what this is going to be like, right? It's going to be almost like listening to a book on tape.
I think that's
or audiobook, as they say nowadays. I'm old.
I think it's an audiobook. Yeah. And I also, in the same genre, is the 7 of 9 and Rafi audio book that they recorded, right? Which I have to say I have not listened to, but I should and I will because I'm excited.
Because it's them, right? It's those two actors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I guess with this miniseries, it'll be multiple actors, a miniseries podcast. So that in that way, it'll differ from an audiobook in that it'll be multiple people playing the roles. I just wonder how much they'll get into sound effects, and I'm imagining something very hokey.
It's gonna be an old-fashioned radio play,
right?
Why not?
There's a Foley guy in the corner with a rubbing shoes in a box of sand, doing sound effects. So that's one thing that I guess is happening. Let's see. They've been talking a lot about a Section 31.
I am the fan who is excited about this.
You're the one.
I'm the one. First of all, I am obsessed with Michelle Yeoh.
Well, she's amazing.
I love her, and I feel like she was I would love to hear, even more of the details of that first season of Discovery in how they create this amazing character only to be spoiler, killed off in episode 2 or 3 or whatever it was.
Right.
And they find this way to bring her back. And I love that she's this like sort of twisted anti-hero, and she has this like redemption arc. And tell me you don't love the Guardian of Forever. Right? That they have made her like they've made the Guardian of Forever integral into her story.
Absolutely.
They, the Guardian is probably
Carl.
actually really a they, right?
Right.
Carl has like sent her to a place for she walks, through the gate at the end of that episode that we've seen, right? And she emerges somewhere else to parts unknown, but it is clearly guided
into a spinoff.
Wherever that may be. I've heard it described as what they're trying to do is a mix between Mission Impossible and Guardians of the Galaxy. Have you heard this?
Oh no, that's interesting. Okay. So very actiony, which makes sense. I mean, she's an action star. I mean, she's amazingly talented with martial arts and stunt work.
And will we see Ash Tyler?
Will we see Ash? Because that was the last time we saw him. Is he was gone off to head up Section 31 or be in Section 31? I don't remember.
Something. Yeah,
it was a long time ago.
A lot has happened since then.
A lot has happened. But that's the thing. A lot has happened since they teased this, Giorgio show, Section 31 show rumor that almost to the point where I feel like what I thought it was originally going to be, it isn't now because so much has changed. But anything is possible.
Yeah, part of me wonders if this is the one that will just be talked. This is, is this? I don't want to curse at it. Is this a phase 2? Is it something that is like being talked about and then just keeps putting off until? Well, and since she's become a huge movie star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, she was already a huge movie star, but
it's very ethnocentric of me. I'm sorry. She's become a huge mainstream American movie star.
Right. She was, not just a Bond girl in the West nowadays.
Yes.
She's, although I have to confess, I haven't seen, what is it? Everything All at Once or.
Yes,
whatever.
I did. And I had a
is
terrible. It's amazing. And to the point where I had a full on shouting at the screen Tourette's moment in a crowded movie theater.
Wow.
Which a story that will sidetrack us, but it's a good movie. You should see it. Yes.
Okay, great.
Michelle Yeoh, I want her Star Trek series to happen.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
Well, let's jump around a little bit. You mentioned phase 2. Let's talk a little bit about, according to the little bit of Googling that I've done in some of the books I've read, there were a lot of spinoffs back in the day that ended up never happening. Of course, the most famous is the Assignment Earth spinoff because there was an episode setting up Gary Seven and his sidekick. It was very much an American Doctor Who.
Which, starting rumors could still happen.
Could still happen, yeah.
Could still happen. Still out there, I'm telling you.
Yeah. It's, well, I feel like we don't do this anymore. Like back then, they would do these backdoor pilots as an episode of a series. Like I think like Mork and Mindy, it was spun off from Happy Days. There's some really weird ones.
Everything came from Happy Days. Yeah.
Everything came from Happy Days.
And All in the Family. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And All in the Family. Right. And then there's Maude. Yeah. So moving forward to today, could there be a Doctor Who-like spinoff series? I think with Wesley Crusher, like a traveler, he has a companion now in,
Correct.
Right. I was like, what's her name? She's played so many different characters.
Right. No, I know. I know the answer to this because I looked it up specifically for this topic on this. Yes, because this was in my notes.
Good.
Yes.
I would watch the heck out of that.
Well, yeah, and why did they drop that? And that in season 2 of Picard, you may remember Wesley Crusher appears. He's of the Traveler. He does the same thing that. It's very Doctor Who, right? Like their role is to protect the integrity of the timeline. There are certain fixed events that are supposed to happen, and they are there to ensure that they happen.
Yeah.
Right. That's very Doctor Who. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I think Doctor Who got a little bit a little off of that. I mean, he was such a rogue, I think. Not rogue, but like, you know what I mean? Like, of the Time Lords, he's like this weird Time Lord that's like doing his own thing. He like stole a TARDIS, and you know what I mean? But still, yeah, this kind of person outside of time who's watching, who's making sure things happen the way that, you know, they should. It was an odd moment because I didn't see them setting that up in her character before that.
Hard left turn in that scene only. Like it could have been cut out entirely, and her story would have ended there.
Right, absolutely. But they filmed it and they kept it in. So were they teasing something?
I felt teased. It teased me.
Teased. Speaking of teasing, they've this is a terrible transition. There's been rumors. It's not even really a tease. There's been rumors that Tilly could get her own show. And there's been rumors that there could be a Starfleet Academy show.
Right. I feel like the Starfleet Academy show is more than a rumor. I feel like that is like been named by people in the like Alex Kurtzman world as like a thing that is in development. The question is, I mean, it feels like a Tilly show. It feels like that's what was happening. I mean, the next season of Discovery will tell us.
That's true, because she's definitely in it.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in the behind the scenes footage that they showed it on Star Trek Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's where they let her character go, is to go off to the Academy and kind of head it up, the new Academy.
So my other take on the Starfleet Academy show is that maybe it is in, I don't know why I think of this as like present day Star Trek, but in the Picard universe, that Elnor as the first Romulan in Starfleet, and that he is, and I love the Kawat Malat, the absolute candor. Like I think that's like a great addition to the Star Trek canon. That like
and potential for comedy. I mean,
for comedy, right? And he's like, so you know, he's a hot young Romulan, like, you know, there's like, right? I mean, he's you know, I think that I feel like that is another potential Starfleet Academy storyline that they could go with. I feel like it's the less likely one, but I feel like it's there.
Yeah, I like it. They've been talking about Starfleet Academy for so long, though. I mean, back after Star Trek V was such a flop, there was a big push to scrap the old cast and start over with a Starfleet Academy kind of reboot. And then, of course, that didn't happen. And some elements of that, I think, ended up in Star Trek 09 because we see them at the Academy,
right?
But it's a part of the universe that every time they show it, it's intriguing. Like when we see Wesley Crusher at the Academy.
We do. I know.
And it's a great episode.
Yes, I think so too. Yes, and you know, and it will be very interesting where and when they choose to set that, if they do it. My only question though is that at a certain point in their story building, you're going to have to suspend disbelief so many times that these students are in jeopardy, that these students are getting to do all of these things. So that I feel like that is going to be their challenge is what adventures are students going to fall into that are plausible that within the world,
right? This isn't Harry Potter. It can't all be, you know, while they're at school. I mean, I don't know. That's a great question. I feel like a good writer could come up with something there. Would 100%. It be Earthbound? Would they never really get up into the stars?
Well, if they do it in the Discovery universe, in the future, right? That is a much more dangerous world, right? The Federation not strong. The Starfleet Academy keeps all of those young recruits keep getting thrown into things out of necessity. So I think that's probably where they're going to go with it. That's
I like it.
My bet.
And I love Tilly.
Yeah.
And I love Mary Wiseman. So
Yes.
I really hope for that.
Yes.
What about Captain Janeway?
I have a hard time believing or seeing how they're going to do that. She's teasing, and you're like, how many of these people are teasing things that they have like gotten the green light to leak from the Alex Kurtzman world, and how many of them are manifesting that?
Right. Like the Worf show was never a real thing, but Michael Dorn was pushing it over and over again.
It's like that scene in Muppets Take Manhattan when they're at Sardi's and they're whispering under the table, right? They're just like quietly leaking made up facts.
Right.
Because also she's already appearing in Prodigy and she has a story as Admiral Janeway. So whatever they're doing has to be consistent with that. And
right.
I mean, not to say that it won't happen.
Spoilers, when Prodigy started, I thought, they really could do it. And I was thinking about it a lot. Like they should do we should see the real Janeway, not just the hologram, and see what she's up to. And that could be a spinoff. But then, spoilers, we see the real Janeway at the end. Yeah. And so she is back. Like, I don't see her getting her own show.
No. And also with 7 of 9, I mean, not to jump around, but with 7 of 9, that's clearly happening.
Right.
So does she appear on that? Does she, I don't know.
Oh God, that would be great. The 7 of 9 spinoff out of Picard, I think is definitely happening.
Yes.
Even though they haven't really said, they've like teased and teased and teased. And I mean, that could be somehow combined with a Janeway show, like sure. 7 and Janeway, like on some sort of adventure together. I don't know.
And do we see Rafi in that? Is the Rafi 7 story? I mean, I think that she's just too strong a character to leave by the wayside.
Right.
Or is the 7 of 9 show simply the continuation of Picard without Picard?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because there's so many things that got dropped. The Guardian at the gate, Girardi, called herself at the end. She says she used that phrase, the Guardian at the gate, as that there's this transwarp conduit that her Borg ship is living there to protect. Like, why would they? I mean, unless we cover that in season 3 of Picard, which it sounds like that's not what it's about.
Right.
So this is something that is, there's a lot of threads that are lingering out there.
Yes. I really, after the first season of Picard, I thought for sure we were going to get a 7 of 9 as a Fenris Ranger, going out, saving the galaxy show. But in the preview for season 3, we see her in a Starfleet uniform and she seems to be stationed on the Titan A. So, if she's back in Starfleet, then that Ranger show is out the door.
But how do we know that this works out? I mean, she may have found herself back in the Rangers.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I thought of the Fenris Rangers show as well, and I think there's multiple different directions they could take this. It will be fascinating to see what they do.
And she's amazing. So, it's funny. It's almost like there's too many desserts on the buffet. You know what I mean? It's hard to choose. Like there's so many great actors, great characters, things that we want that we can't have it all, or we're going to throw up. Let's go back in time for a minute. Oh, I just hit my microphone. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, Red, this is interesting. At one point in the 60s, they were discussing a Harry Mudd spinoff.
Oh.
Which I think would have been terrible. But today, a Harry Mudd spinoff with Dwight Schultz.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's great.
That would be great, right?
Right? Like the short track with all his clones?
Yes.
Brilliant. I loved it. It's like 5 minutes long. It's amazing.
I would love that. I almost think that they did short treks as a way to be like, we're not going to make these, so let's just do a short trek. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to get a spinoff, so let's give him a short trek, that kind of thing.
Well, they made the I forget the name of it. Number one and Spock gets stuck in an elevator.
In the turbo lift, yeah. And that was like maybe we should do Strange New Worlds. And then they're
just testing it out,
right.
Trying shit.
Trying. At one point in the 60s, there was a talk of a Spock spinoff, which I don't know how that would work. After the show left the air, they talked about a couple movie options to bring it back. Star Trek The God Thing, which a lot of that concept ended up in Star Trek V. Yeah. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Star Trek Phase 2, which was really greenlit as this brand new Star Trek. And there's all these screen tests and costume tests. And from what I understand, the success of Star Wars made the execs at Paramount say, hey, maybe we shouldn't make a show. Maybe we should try to do a movie. And then it turned into the motion picture.
Yeah, gosh. And do you find yourself wondering if that was the wrong choice? Because so much of the money that Star Trek made Paramount was in syndication, right?
Yeah.
So that just would have been like that would be on your local Fox 68 WSYT in Syracuse. That would have been they would have been showing Phase 2. It would have been like that would have been the cash cow that Star Trek was all those interim years.
My question is, how good would it have been? By all reports, Nimoy would not have been in it because he didn't want to do another show. And they were going to replace him with Zahn, another Vulcan. And
it's a tragic story for that actor, right? Because that is like the biggest thing that he ever did. Almost. Yes. I shouldn't say that. Sorry almost if you're famous. Listening.
He that character comes back in some of the fan films, which I think is really fun. But I don't know. I mean, so this was like a TJ Hooker era. Well, actually just pre TJ Hooker, William Shatner. And maybe it would have been good if they could have made enough of them, if it had survived a couple seasons to get like that 100 episode mark where it can really be reread and syndicated. It would have made a lot more money, I think, than the motion picture did. The motion picture, even though it grossed a lot, cost a lot because all of the cost of Phase 2 was lumped in with it. So it was such an expensive film.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, had that taken off, we never would have gotten Nicholas Meyer, which was all of those, that Genesis saga that speaking of myself that I loved.
And I don't think we would have gotten the Next Generation because a lot of Phase 2 was recycled into the Next Generation. Deanna and Riker's characters specifically were reworks of Decker and Ilea.
Yeah.
But there's some great like hip 70s images if you Google Star Trek Phase 2. I highly recommend that to everybody.
Do that right after the.
Yes. Okay, let's see. A couple other things that never happened. Apparently, there was talk. I feel like this was just Gene Roddenberry, but a Lwaxana Troy sitcom spinoff. I think he was just constantly trying to get work for his wife. But
well, and it's like all of these spinoffs, were they supposed to happen? Like, listen, TOS was only, for the most part, was appreciated after its time. Like, how were they spinning off an unsuccessful show? and also, like, TNG was mostly unsuccessable in a lot of ways. I mean, especially in Gene's lifetime, and for
Gene's
the first
lifetime, yes,
right. So, like, what? Like, how was he already trying to spin off a show that was like really very much struggling. Already? Like, just like focus on your one show,
right? Well, there's the spinoffs that did happen, of course. Deep Space Nine, obviously, very successful. And that started the path of spinoff after spinoff. But it could have all started with Loxana Troy instead. If there's a parallel universe out there, according to string theory.
Oh,
where
who knew O'Brien was the right choice?
right. What about after Star Trek 6? Some people wanted, and actually, I think it was instead of Voyager, people were pushing for a Sulu series. There was a sort of a fan push for that.
Now, was this like a Michael Dorn style George Takei, like whispering his own name into the wind?
This was pre-internet, so it's kind of hard to say. But if this were happening today, we would know that how much George Takei is just like throwing this out there. But I don't know if it came from him back then or if it was some fan idea. There are some novels, and then we do see him in one episode of Voyager where they do the flashback.
Of course,
to the Excelsior, yeah. And he's a bit hammy in that episode. I don't know if that was just how he was directed or what, but it kind of makes me think maybe it's a good thing we didn't get an Excelsior show. Some people thought we would get a USS Titan Riker show after Nemesis.
Right.
And again, we got books instead, a whole series of books. And
Lower Decks.
And now they're on Lower
Decks.
They finally have, that's come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Lower Decks Riker is the best Riker. He's hilarious with all of his jazz puns, and he's just so over the top.
I am eager for because I have plugged myself into this speculation with season 3 of Picard, where Terry Matalas has said that the showrunner for the last season has said that that this is very Picard focused, and then he's like, and in a close second would be Riker and Crusher.
Oh, interesting.
And to the point where he actually got some reluctance from Jonathan Frakes, who has in the last 20 years has worn his director hat only and does not have the confidence in his acting chops that maybe he used to have.
Sure.
So they're giving him a lot. Supposedly they're giving him a lot more meat on his bones, so that we're going to see Riker and Crusher featured in ways that we haven't.
That's great.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially Crusher. I mean, I've been yearning for Gates McFadden to come back in the last 2 seasons, and
that at that Comic-Con panel where it was announced that there would be 2 new series with female leads.
Oh,
right. And then she leans in and she's like, Crusher can carry a gun. She's like literally like creating her own red herring, I feel like. Or Crusher can carry a phaser. That's what something like
that's that. Right. Have phaser built travel.
Yeah. Which I take that to be Section 31 and 7 of 9 are our 2 female lead shows that are being developed.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
That is probably accurate. Or maybe the Tilly Starfleet.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of these are female lead now that I sit back and look at them, which I think is of the time right now,
Terrific.
It's great. There was an animated series that was developed in the early 2000s called Star Trek: The Final Frontier. They did artwork for it. There were scripts, and then it got dropped. But it was going to be a very dark, space has been, there's large sections of space that are untraversable because of some very Discovery,
sci-fi gobbledygook.
Yeah, exactly. Right. MacGuffin. Right. What's the thing that happens in season 3 of The Burn? It sounds very much like The Burn.
Oh, The Burn.
You know what I mean?
The Burn. Yes.
So Starfleet itself is tarnished. I mean, it's, if you look at where Discovery has gone, I think some of that is similar to what they were looking for in Star Trek: The Final Frontier. But that's worth checking out. It was 2006, I think, is when all that work was done on it.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then the thing that I was shocked to see today when I turned on my computer and navigated away from the hurricane news that I'm currently following, because there's a hurricane coming in on us, is the headline was Star Trek: The Next Generation cast reboot includes recasting Star Trek: The Next Generation characters or something like that.
Yes. In the Kelvin timeline.
Yes. So this fourth Kelvin timeline movie is not going to be directed by Quentin Tarantino, even though there's still some like rumors of him doing a film at some point. But that'll never happen. But that somehow the Kelvin, do you think that the actors from the TOS reboot Kelvin movies, like Chris Pine and Zoe Saldana, you think they would somehow interact with newly cast Picard? Like, I'm just not seeing how
it's like 78 years, isn't that what it was supposed to be? The difference between like it. Who knows? I mean, this seems to be the development that no one was begging for. I don't know. I'm cranky about the Kelvin universe in general. It's not my.
Yeah.
I'm glad that most of the new TV things have been in the Prime universe.
Yeah. Well, all of them, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All of them.
Yeah. And some people argue that the Prime universe, that this is a new Prime universe, that it's actually like another option because things look so different from the original series. But that's just production values. I mean, I'm fine with all that. Yeah.
We can't be doing like a hokey 1960s science fiction these days just to be on. I mean,
the fan films have done that and really well, actually. Before they were told to stop. This is the strangest news. It's not coming from a great source either. It's it's like Giant Freaking Robot or something. It's one of those news websites that kind of leaks, things that every now and then they're right, but it's really just clickbait. So I don't think I am such
a clickbait victim on a regular basis. I'm baited to click. It's embarrassing, but yes, I have come across that as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'll go see it. Right. I probably will enjoy it while I'm sitting there. But of all of the, like, if something is going to be put on the big screen, like every couple years now, this is really going to happen. Like, just not what I would choose.
It's weird. I mean, I don't know if I want Prime timeline films that would somehow connect to what's happening on TV, or if I'm okay with the films being Kelvin and that just being a separate universe. It's almost like the DC TV universe versus the DC film universe.
Sure.
They can happen simultaneously, and I can separate them in my mind. But it's been so long since we've seen a Kelvin timeline movie. All of these actors, speaking of actors becoming big, like these actors are doing really big things now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I struggle to see it happening.
Well, and maybe that's their issue. Maybe they're trying to orchestrate a passing of the torch to a new movie franchise with new actors because the actors are becoming too expensive. Is that a possibility? Maybe
this is really a TNG reboot with like a little bit of the Kelvin, actors passing the torch, like you said, almost like a Generations.
I know. Didn't we learn our lesson?
Right. Maybe Chris Pine will get stuck in the Nexus.
Oh, Jesus.
So I think those are all the rumors. Do you want to start some rumors? What kind of spinoff would you like to see?
Well, the only other rumor that I would start, I don't know that I actually want to see this, but the Rios in the 21st century, we learn that he became dear friends with young Guinan. Right.
A Rios Guinan spinoff.
Right. And we get the eugenics wars. We get I mean, now I'm trying to remember my timeline, but he could take us on up to First Contact.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of like, you know, I don't know that sort of like dark 21st century history is what we all really want to see. Like,
yeah,
but that's another.
I feel like the time for that to be made is gone.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to imagine it now. I'm imagining Mad Max. That's just what I'm seeing.
Right, and it wouldn't feel like Star Trek.
Yeah, it wouldn't feel like Star Trek. You know, I mean, this is a blast from the past, but after All Good Things, I kind of wanted a Beverly Crusher USS Pasteur spinoff, like a medical drama. You know, every week is some new plague that they're curing, or you know,
like ER in space.
Yeah, ER in space with Crusher and you know Nurse Agawa and whoever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I totally would have watched that.
Well, I feel like I feel like Crusher, apart from a few, you know, a few shining moments, was a generally underutilized character. So I think,
absolutely,
I think
McFadden would say so.
Yes, I feel like, I mean, most of them would probably say so. I mean, that's
sure.
But I feel like there will be some light shed on this topic in the coming season of Picard.
Yeah.
And of course, by the way, we could listen to this podcast in a year's time and find out how wrong we were about everything.
Oh,
that's the entertaining thing about the
absolutely
speculative nature of this.
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure to mention all these rumors from decades past that never happened, because, you know, that could be exactly what we're experiencing now. You know, if you had asked me in whatever 1997 if a Captain Sulu series was going to happen, I would have been like, that's a great idea. That's exactly where we should be going. You know what I mean?
Okay. So how about, you may, I'm sure, have seen the documentary, What We Leave Behind.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So the Deep Space Nine retrospective, which I recommend if you have not watched it. It's great. But they do a writer's room. They reassemble the writing staff.
Yeah.
And they do, and they storyboard, or they whiteboard a season 8 of Deep Space Nine.
So much fun.
Also, they kind of disturbingly, the first thing they do is kill Nog, which this is before Aaron Eisenberg died. I was like,
I know.
So inappropriate. They couldn't have known.
They couldn't have known, but still, it was what, because I watched that documentary later. I didn't watch it when it first came out. So he had already passed away. And I was gutted by that. I was like, oh my God.
I was like, oh my God, they have to regret this.
Right.
Yes. But I also did not appreciate that they made Kira a Vedic, which I was like, that is just not the sort of like religious aspect of her character was not sort of what I wanted to see it centered on. But
sure,
pretty fascinating take on you know, what a reunion would be like there.
Right. I'm excited about the Voyager documentary that's supposed to be coming out.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I feel like we're going to see a lot of like shit talk between those people, because they like, I've had some rainy day YouTube moments watching the cast of Voyager talk smack about each other, and a lot of them really go there. Robert Beltran is,
he has no filter.
Also, Kate Mulgrew is up there being like, I'm friends with 2 people from the show, and they're the best 2 people from the show. And you're like, this is going to show up places. What are you doing?
Yeah, they aren't a family. Like the TNG cast really worked out as like a friend group,
Yes.
Yes. And they're the only ones. I mean, the original series, well, it was a very different era of television,
Sure.
but the day players, as they were, all hated Shatner. Even Jimmy Doohan would refuse to work with him. I mean, yeah, it got bad. It got really bad. Well, and towards the end of Leonard Nimoy's life, he wasn't speaking with William Shatner for whatever reason. So, but then the Voyager cast. Well, when Seven of Nine was added to the show, I think Kate Mulgrew was really, really pissed off that this like sex object was brought onto her show. This like feminist, female-led, show, and suddenly there's someone with like fake boobs strapped on and like spike heels and basically Seven is a drag queen, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And she took that out on poor Jerry Ryan, who was just doing her job. And since they've really made up, but I wonder if we're going to.
I mean, they've made up publicly.
They've made up publicly. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure.
I have a lot of respect for both of those women. I really hope that they made up in real life.
I'm sure. Yeah, because at a certain point, you're like, why still be mad?
Yeah.
20 years later, whatever it is.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. Why don't fall into the trope of women not getting along, Like it's like the creators of the show pitted them against each other, if anything.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah. And it's crazy what amazing work they did. Like the best scenes from Voyager are the two of them together in the later years of that show.
It's true.
And to know how hateful they must have been in those moments to like get all that done. I can't imagine.
Crazy. Hmm? Yeah. Are we going to hear about Jennifer Lean and her like addiction issues and stuff? And when she left the show and like, what was going on there?
Are you spreading rumors, Mike Jones?
I'm not spreading rumors. No, she's had a lot of issues. She's been arrested a few times. You should like Google like Jennifer Lean mugshot. And I'm not joyful about her life. I'm not laughing at her. But I wonder if we're going to hear anything about like how that was difficult. Like, was she already experiencing problems? Is that why she left? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of unanswered things there.
We've got to watch the documentary.
We'll have to watch the documentary. Anyway, we've wandered off of we've spun off from our spinoff conversation.
We certainly sowed the seeds to monkey brain throughout all of this. So. Sorry for that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, any other thoughts on spinoffs that you would like to see or that we haven't mentioned so far?
I'm excited for all the ones we've mentioned so far.
Me too.
And I'm going to credit I was having this conversation with my dear friend Lanita, who I feel like will be on this at some point.
Yes, Lanita, come on the pod.
And she's like, I am here for she's like, I'm whatever it is, I'm going to watch it and I'm going to love it. And it doesn't matter. Just give me more, give me. Which is kind of my attitude as well.
Yes.
I'm not here to hate on New Trek. I'm here for it. Keep coming.
Absolutely. I want more Lower Decks. I want more episodes per season. I want more Lower Decks. Like I would be in favor of more Lower Decks and lose a spinoff in order to get it. I'm just going to say
because you can watch it with your husband because he'll watch it with you. We know
that's true. That's true.
In fact, I have to tell you, this is the last thing I'll say about Lower Decks is that there was a moment in the holodeck simulation where the kindergarten gets blown out of the ship, and I thought, Tim O'Donnell.
Yes. Oh my God, we had to stop and rewind it. Amazing. Okay, well, thank you all for listening. And if you have any ideas or if you've heard any rumors that we haven't, please drop us a line over on Twitter at Hailing Freak Open. That's FREQ. I didn't think that through very well when I made our Twitter. Give us a 5-star review. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I think that's about it.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks, Mike.
Hailing Frequencies closed.